And to take 17 days of strike action to stop privatisation, I think is a great consideration. PCS is extraordinarily proud of our members of the gallery and our reps who have worked and done such a fantastic job in making this a nationally significant dispute. So I would hope that everybody, when they do go, will always bear in mind that 17 days of sacrifice is a massive thing. So anyone who can get down to the picket lines for the rest of the week between tomorrow and Saturday will be more than well received. I know that most people who visit get the chance to say a few words in the loud hailer if they're so inclined. So if you can go, that would be great. If you could take a banner, that would be even better. And if you can take any members or people from trade unions or from across the spectrum, it can only give a boost to those people who are on strike. And I would just want to say that, some of the stalwarts of this have been there every single day up early, doing all that legwork to get the placards there, to make sure we've got a visible presence. And so, it is important we recognise their sacrifice. And I think it's also important to recognise that actually there are some disputes when you go on strike for quite a long time, and an innocent bystander may sometimes think, well, I can see the arguments on both sides. It doesn't look clear-cut. I mean, in this dispute, it is as clear-cut as you can get it. And I think it's worth us refreshing our memory then as to what Polly Toynbee said in a recent piece in The Guardian. Polly Toynbee said that the National Gallery as a great British emblem should resist becoming yet another icon for Britain's low-pay, 0 hours, contemptuous treatment of valuable employees. But she went on to say that disputes get deadlocked when management feels its pride and power to manage is threatened, and therefore winning becomes more important than finding a peaceful solution. And I think that's a really quite insightful comment from Polly Toynbee. A, because she positions this dispute about the race to the bottom of the attempt to have poverty pay, unions, private companies coming in that erode the rights of the workforce. But secondly, she recognises that in this particular dispute, we are up against a very difficult intransigent management. And I had a look before I came at the list of gallery trustees. I say this because in PCS we're used to dealing with all sorts of difficult people, particularly politicians and government departments. But when you look at the trustees, it is a rogues gallery. And I have to say, when Mervyn King, the former Bank of England chair, is the moderate on the panel, then you're up against it. And we are talking here about hedge funds, equity traders, millionaires, very, very rich people who have absolutely no truck, not only with trade unions and what we stand for, but actually workers, who actually often see workers as just a commodity that they will squeeze as much as they can get out of in order to make profits. So we are trying to convince people who are very hard-nosed. And in that sense, we've got to, I think, understand that Parliament shuts down, as John told us, in the next few days. There won't then be an elected government till May the 7th, May the 8th. You may not even know who it is very quickly after May the 7th, depending on the outcome. So that leaves us now almost trying to build the maximum pressure we can on people who frankly are very unsympathetic and people who do not have a case. Therefore, their tactics seem to be, it seems to me, to be about saying, right, well, we will prevail, so we're going to try to demoralise the people who've been on strike, we're going to try and undermine the union, and we're going to try and smash this, hopefully before anybody else comes along to take an interest. But that alone tells us it's got to be critical, therefore, that what the union does in this situation is ensure that we give full support to the workers at the gallery, we continue to support whatever industrial action tactics they decide, and we put the full weight of the union behind making this a high-profile event. And that is certainly what we are committed to doing, and I mentioned to Candy before we started that at the end of this 5 days, the Disputes Committee at PCS wants to sit down with our leading activists from the gallery to talk about what we now need to do next and how we can try and put more pressure on the gallery themselves, but recognising that it's a tough opponent. And that is why this People's Inquiry idea is so significant, because when you have 43,000 people sign a petition, 1,000 people have emailed their MPs, not far off 100 MPs have signed the everyday motion, and still they don't even want to be at ACAS, let alone talk about our proposals to solve the dispute. But then we begin to get an idea that at the moment they seem to think they're susceptible to any of the normal pressures and they carry on willy-nilly. What's even more sinister is that they also are up in the ante in trying to bully the unions, activists and members. Now, I've spoken here before, we had a PAC meeting a number of weeks back about Candy. Candy's bearing the brunt in terms of being suspended on trumped up charges that we are supporting her absolutely, and her reinstatement has got to be pivotal to solving this dispute. But I did get a 6-page letter from the gallery solicitors, which you couldn't make up. But what was actually interesting about it was that they sought to name other representatives and lay reps of the union and clearly establish a case that if they feel emboldened, they may well decide that they want to go forward further than just one rep. So they're not seeking a peaceful means here. They actually seem to me to be about saying they want to win. And if they win, not only do we lose the argument about public access to what are our great treasures, not only do we actually get a situation where very rich people can actually act as they want, despite all the support that we muster, what it really tells us is a glimpse about the future. And the future is our members who work in there, in a privatised environment. This gives us an idea of what lays down the track. And for people who are so dedicated to where they work, to really have this stick hanging over them is completely unacceptable, and it is the real intimidation. Not people shouting slogans on picket lines and being creative. That's not intimidation. That's trying to get people on our side to support us. Real intimidation is threatening people's livelihoods and threatening people's working conditions for this year, next year, and for years to come. So I don't think anyone can overstate the importance of us getting a successful outcome in this dispute.